Greetings everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I'm Simmer Chase, and today is episode number 7 of our Federalist speed builds, yes, on the upper floor. So this is now episode 13, and we are now completing the building. Yes, friends, today is the last episode of the Federalist Building. Thank you so much for tuning in, checking out the builds, checking out my little experiment of splitting all the apartments into various episodes of each of their own so that I could really highlight each of the 13 colonies or states that these were. Today is Unit 7. It's actually a loft, and it is our last colony or state, New York. New York. Oh yeah. So this is New York. And we're talking about the whole state, not just New York City. So you're going to see elements of kind of how I see both New York and my feeling of it, my impression, and how I sort of emulate that in The Sims. And then also the state itself, because there's a lot of rural areas. There's a lot of areas, like, it's a very good mix of all of America. I mean, you've got like mountains, you've got skiing slopes up in the north and like towards Buffalo, up towards Canada and the border. Then you have these really amazing metropolitan areas. And see, now you're seeing me put in the skylights. If you saw last episode, I had alluded to that. But basically, when I built Pennsylvania, which was the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago now, and so, you know, I built it and I was like, I should do these other places. I know it's going to upset people, but it's okay because I really like skylights. And I know that the pattern might seem odd a little, but when you do them on the tallest ceiling, they actually look really cool, I think. And I think that they bring in some really much needed light. And especially like for me, for instance, I use reshade. And so it really just kind of amplifies the lighting from that and almost like ray tracing. So then it just lets in all this really pretty color and like distinct feature of the room and what you're trying to focal point it. And for me, it's the beds and sort of the work I put in creating like a behind the bed sort of experience, as I call it, but it's not really like it's including like the headboard and all of that, plus the artwork, the lighting, the table, everything, and making all that kind of shine extra because we all spend the time on it. So I really like using those, and it's sad that I don't see as many folks use them because they really do. They add in a lot more light and they just really make it a little more interesting to look at, I think. So I definitely challenge folks to definitely try them a little more and just experiment more with maybe using a taller ceiling with them. And now with like the platform update and stuff, it's really cool because it really added like the extra ability for like the thickness, and then also how you like want to trim it out. And then remember, there's like 4 different like texture options between plain glass and then that. And you don't have to use the whole ceiling for it either. You can just do like a little chunk, you know, for like a skylight and not like a whole thing. Cool. And so I was thinking too, they're like one of our first like big metro areas to legalize, you know, cannabis, things like of that nature. So I thought that that'd be fun to kind of plug in here a little. And then I'm kind of paying respect to the music scene, but then the dance scene as well, subtly here. And I wanted to make it feel really lofty. So I actually added in this really awesome, like the dance floor. I love it. I love the dance floor. And I feel like it gives it that extra lofty feel and like just where it just keeps going forever, which is really New York. You know, they have our tallest building, of course. I mean, they have our whole social, like the social scene. Everything pretty much starts in either, you know, LA or New York. Everything's filmed there. They were also one of our first capitals. They have such a huge impact on history. I mean, everybody knows New York. It's just amazing. So for me to like, when I thought of, oh, what am I going to do in New York? Everybody does New York. Everybody's got like an idea of what New York is. But to me, and for me, I think that this would be really fun to have if I had like a little condo. And the neat thing is you could decorate this however you choose. But I wanted to go more of like an urban, like restoration hardware, crate and barrel sort of feel and vibe here. And then I wanted to just kind of like that upper like strength of products, you know, and quality, and kind of emulate that a little bit here. And then also just sort of like, you know, playful a little bit with some of the other elements like the hookah and that kind of stuff. So, or the bubble blower as we call it. And now you can see up, and I really love, like I had mentioned, I really enjoy like creating that feeling, because in New York you have almost no space. In New York City, for instance, there's like zero space. So I added in as many like cabinets and storage solutions as possible. And so you can just see, like, you could really stack in a ton of stuff everywhere because of the island and the way that I created it, also allowing all of those open shelves if you needed to use those as well. And then there's just a lot of space, you know, to really add extra storage or extra things that you might need. But I really wanted to build something that was just felt super lofty and open and big and pretty. And so I saved it for the end because I was really like, oh yes, but I need a building to do this like on its own. So this is how like I took the last of the space. And it was a little bit of a challenge too, because literally when I was laying out the whole thing, you have to calculate all in your mind how many bedrooms, how big the sizes are of everything, and knowing that you need like 3 tiles by 2 tiles for a bed plus 1 row of tiles on each side to be able to get around it, basically. So that's going to give you like, you know, 4 by 3, and then to fit a dresser. So now you need a space to get around all that. So then that's now like 7 by 5. So then you have to start thinking about that and start cutting all these squares of 7 by 5s out, depending on how many bedrooms you need. So you have to just ping, 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 you know. So in the basement was much like, if you haven't seen those episodes yet, definitely look at how I build out all the lower level units, because they all have open access to the outdoors. And I created like, I used the platform and the basement tool and the exposed tool, as you can see here, to just kind of open everything up so that they can just go right under there like you would have in a traditional row building. And this was the Federalist. So it was inspired after like old 1800s buildings that you might find in like Washington, D.C. or along the East Coast that are mostly like limestone, and they're just a more refined version of like colonial and like Roman Gothic and all that. It's kind of all that sort of like mixed into one. And so here is our little gallery. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys just checking everything out, and I am so grateful to show you the series, and I look forward to showing you the next one. Stay tuned, and I look forward to doing a lot more with you guys. Have a great day and stay proud. Go out and do something magical